Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. This is John McDougall. I am the event coordinator here at Murder by the Book. And before we get into tonight's event, I just wanted to let everybody know a little bit about what has been going on with us. So we are in the process of doing in-store and virtual events. So when you look at the Murder by the Book calendar, you'll see things listed as either in-store or virtual. As we've been saying, we're going to keep doing both. We love being able to interact with everybody online and also in-store as well. If you see somebody that's coming through and they're going to be in store that you're excited about, please come see them. We are kind of trying to teach publishers again that we want that there's still a need for people to be able to come into the store and chat with authors about books. So we want to be able to do both. So if there's somebody coming through, please come visit them, pre-order books. Next up for our cozy readers, I am going to be chatting with Ellen Byron. She's going to be in conversation with Karen White next Thursday the 9th. We're super excited about that one. Next in-store thing, Steve Berry is going to be in the store on next Wednesday. And then next Saturday, our event with Claudia Gray that was rescheduled from last month. We had a couple of COVID issues in the store. Everybody's feeling better. Everybody's back to work now, but we had to reschedule a few things. So our event with Claudia Gray for her Jane Austen book, The Murder of Mr. Wickham, is going to be next Saturday, the 11th. Also wanted to mention for our cozy viewers out there, if you guys have not signed up for our subscription box, we've got 3 different subscription boxes. We've got a Best of the Month, which is a new hardcover. We've got Crime Fiction Legends, which is 2 classics, or we also have John's Cozy Corner. I'm going to drop a link in the comments in case you want to get some more information about that. Basically, it's me picking out a cozy for you every month. All of our authors tonight, Tamara Berry's book was our official, Buried in a Good Book was the official May pick. I think everybody's just now getting their copies in the mail. And both Amanda, Dana, and Julie / Bree have all been bonus picks as well. So we're super excited about tonight's event. While they are chatting, they're going to interview each other while they're talking. If you have questions for them, either about their current series, previous series, any of that stuff, drop those comments in the live chat on YouTube or the comments on Facebook, and we will get to them in just a bit. But for now, I'm going to start bringing everybody out and get them introduced so we can get started. I'm going to start with Bree Baker, who is also Julie and Lindsay. How are you tonight?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again.
It's great to see you. Thank you for inviting me tonight.
Oh, I'm so excited to do this. It's very rare when we get 4 authors, when a publisher says, hey, we want to do an event with 4 authors, and then I've actually read all 4 of them. So I'm super excited for tonight. So Bree's most recent book in the Seaside Café series is Pleading the Fish. Bree Baker is a Midwestern writer obsessed with small town hijinks, sweet tea, and the sea. She's been telling stories to her friends, family, and strangers for as long as she can remember, and more often than not, those stories feature a warm ocean breeze and a recipe she's sure to ruin. Now she's working on those fancy cooking skills and dreaming up adventures for the Seaside Café mysteries. She is a member of Sisters in Crime, International Thriller Writers, and the Romance Writers of America. Next up, we're going to bring out Tamara Berry. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thanks.
Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
So Tamara's book, Buried in a Good Book, is the first in the By the Book mystery series. She is the author of the Eleanor Wilde Cozy series, and as Lucy Gilmore, the Forever Home Contemporary Romance series. Also a freelance writer and editor, she has a bachelor's degree in English literature and a series penchant for Nancy Drew novels. She lives in Bigfoot country, aka Eastern Washington, with her family and her menagerie. Next up, we are going to bring out Amanda Flower. How are you tonight, Amanda?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So Amanda's most recent book is Put Out to Pasture, which is the second in the Farm to Table mystery series. Amanda is the USA Today bestselling and Agatha Award-winning author of over 20 cozy mystery novels. In addition to being an author, Amanda has been a librarian for 15 years and is starting an organic farm of her very own in Northeast Ohio. And next up, we're going to bring out Dana Mentic. How are you tonight, Dana?
I'm doing great. And can I just say that I love my subscription, my cozy subscription. I look forward to it every month. John, you always pick great books. So thank you.
I appreciate that. It's really fun getting to pick out stuff and discover new series. And it's always really fun to see people posting it. So thank you. So Dana's most recent book is A Sprinkle in Time, which is the second in the Shake Shop mystery series. Dana is a national bestselling author. She has been honored to win 2 Carol Awards, a Holt Medallion, and a Reviewer's Choice Award. She's authored more than 30 novels to date for Harlequin's love-inspired Suspense and Harlequin Heartwarming, and the Shake Shop Mysteries was her debut cozy series. So as I mentioned, if you guys have questions for any of the authors tonight, please post those in the comments and we're going to get to them in just a little bit. But for right now, I'm going to turn it over to you guys and I will see you in just a little bit.
Hi, everybody.
No.
Good to be here. We're like in a little cozy room together.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've got a great question for everybody. Should I fire it off at you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
please do.
What we really want to know is, what is your favorite writing snack?
Oh.
I
Okay.
will start. My favorite writing snack is anything related to the chocolate family. How about you, Bree?
I don't know. I always have something to drink with me. It's like coffee till noon, and then there's a big part of the day when I try to get my water in, and then after dinner I switch to wine. And then the snacks are almost irrelevant.
It's a beverage situation.
Yeah, Bree just stole my answer because that's
Shut up, really?
Except my coffee goes till 4.
Till
and then
4?
The wine
Yeah.
starts at 4:05, so there's no water period.
Oh, man.
She's
Okay.
giving up the
Zero
water.
water.
I'm trying.
What about you,
Yeah.
Amanda?
It really depends on the book. So there, I drink a lot of coffee, like probably we all do, but the book I'm writing now, I've been like eating Harvest cheese sun chips, like it's my job. So probably too many. Like, I don't know if there's like a limit where it like becomes like troublesome. So I need to like finish the book and cut the sun chips. I need to stop.
So you have like a snack that goes with each book you're working on, huh?
Yeah, it varies, but coffee is that one constant.
You're probably
like,
drinking a lot of coffee right now. You're on a major deadline.
yeah, I have a book due. It's actually due today, but I figure if I turn it in by 9 a.m. tomorrow,
Yep.
the editor's not going to be at her desk till then. So I feel like it's
On time. It
it's
counts.
It's often.
yeah.
That's
No,
right.
I'm within like it's like the sprint to the end. Like yeah, I know who did it, so that's good.
Okay, so I have a question. I'll go next. This one's kind of hard, so I apologize if I'm throwing it at you. But do you have any funny writing-related stories, either with the process, with editorial, with a fan, anything? Because I can start. I've got a hilarious one.
Yeah,
You tell.
So my very first book was a romance, and it was Scottish Highland athletes versus a Jane Austen reenactment group, kind of clashing heads. And this was eons ago. But out of the blue, Scottish Highland Club somewhere in Michigan found the book and read it. And then they started posting on their forum all about how wrong I was. And they reached out to me to let me know, but they were like really good sports about it. They're like, we're really not this serious about it because it's a romance novel, so it's like life or death. And they were like, we're really just there to have a good time and drink. Like, I'm not sure who you were talking to. But I hit the main guy up for a quote, and it was on my website for a really long time.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that comes close to that. But I kind of like to reenact some Highland games now.
I know.
Yeah.
That sounds like an outing we need to get together for.
I used to, when I first started, I was like really into the setting, and I used to think this would be a perfect place to find a body. Do you guys ever think that? Like you're out, taking a walk in the woods, this would be a perfect place to find a body. And so my family got kind of tired of me saying that. But one time I just said, this would be a perfect place to find a body. And we did, not a real body. It was a naked mannequin lying face down in the shrubbery. And I was like, it was my moment. Like, I told you this was a perfect
the body.
But, I'm glad it wasn't a real body, just saying.
Yeah, I especially think that when I'm out with my dogs, I'm pretty sure they're going to find a dead body every
You
time.
know,
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
it happens all the
Yeah.
time in cozies, right?
Yes.
I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh.
So far, it's been a big disappointment. I think in my case, I've written so many Amish mysteries. And I do live probably an hour from Amish country in Ohio. And then when I was starting out as a librarian, I worked in a library in Amish country, so I knew Amish and things like that. So it's always, if I'm at a book signing and I'm in Holmes County where majority of the Amish in Ohio live, or near there, and an Amish person comes to my table, I'm always like, ah! You know, like, so this one time, it was probably like my first Amish series. I was sitting in Holmes County at a book fair situation, and like a very reserved Amish man came up. He was probably in his 50s or early 60s, and he's like looking at my books with all my cutesy little cozy covers and saying, you know, it's like Amish candy shop or whatever it was at the time. And he was just like, and like, and then he walked away. So I felt very judged. Like, but you know, he didn't, being truly Amish, he didn't say to an Englisher like, you know, this is ridiculous or anything like that. He just made a sound and he grunted and moved
Oh.
That's too funny. They never put baby bonnets on their pigs, Amanda. Get real.
I know. Yeah, I think it's Lemon Drop Dead. There's a bit like a Amish bonnet. So the animal character's a pig. So there's a Amish bonnet on the pig's head. And I mean, I don't know if it's the same with you guys. Like you get the cover and the cover is what the cover is, unless you are like completely opposed, like something's super wrong. Like I don't really put up a fuss. And I was just like, all right. This is how we're gonna roll with this book. The funny thing is I thought people would like really like tease me about it. And the only people that have are authors, which because they get it. Like they're like, oh, I saw your pig, you know. And I guess that's my question. Have you ever had a cover that you were like did not like, or that you had to like battle with, or if one that like you're just like, well, it is what it is, I'm just gonna move on with my life to the next project?
Well, I remember I started writing like 25 years ago with a cozy series, and my name was misspelled on the spine.
Oh no.
Oh.
I just wanted to go to the bookstore and change it with magic marker on every single spine. But I thought, well, Dana, this will keep you from getting a fat head, right? Ego check. Dana Mitnick or whatever it was. I don't remember.
No, I wrote a YA thriller once at the very beginning of my career, and it came out in hardcover, and I thought, this is it. My career's taken off, you know, this is it. And I probably shouldn't even say what it is because I don't want to upset any publishers out there, but I still hate it. I don't understand the thinking behind it. Like I don't get it at all. And I chalked it up to my creativity must be limited to the writing. Like I don't get the art part because I'm still like, I was just rearranging my shelves, like putting them in colors instead of like in order. And I came across it for the first time in like 8 years. And I was like, oh, that's right. I still hate this cover. I have no idea what's happening here.
I had a 3-book series, and like Bree, I will be discreet and not say what it is. But they threw a lot of money at the first cover, and it did not go over well. People didn't really connect with it, and so the series we finished the series, but it was not the rousing success we had all hoped that it would be. So for the next 2 covers, they just really phoned it in. To the point where like I have tons of copies on my shelves and I can't even give them away because I look at them, I'm just like, the books are still great, but
right. But the covers really do sell books.
Yeah.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
They really do. Luckily, I haven't had any trouble with all my cozy. I feel like cozy is just like do you feel like we're in like a secret club or something? I mean, it's kind of a big club, but compared to the whole industry, it's not. Like we're kind of like, we're the cool kids. we get this little group, and like we're really into the same things, and the art departments just nail it with the puns for the titles. And I've been thrilled with all my cozy covers.
Yeah.
And,
So that's a question then. Do you come up with your titles, or do your publishers, editors come up with yours? Because I didn't write mine. They're amazing. They're
for me,
not.
it's been I've written cozies for 3 publishers, or am writing, series for four series, 3 pubs, and I always pitch a bunch out, and it's like hit or miss. Sometimes they'll take one of mine and be like, "This is so clever," and other times, they'll look at my 10 options and go, "We went another way."
We went a different direction.
We went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
kind of a funny thing with my suspense novels. They ask me, okay, title suggestions, and I feel like saying, you know what? You and I both know you're not going to pick any of my suggestions. Why do we do this exercise in futility every single time? It wastes our time. You pick what you want, and that's it. But with the cozies, no, they're so clever with those puns, aren't they? I never would have thought of that. Some of the things they come up with, so they're great at it.
Yeah.
You guys pick yours, Amanda, Tamara?
Well, for my series for source books with, Farm to Trouble and Put Out to Pasture, I thought of these 2 titles. But the third one, I don't remember what title I thought of, but they didn't like it. So they came up with In Farm's Way.
Cute.
So it's kind of the same thing like you said, Julie. Sometimes they like my title, they're like, "Oh, that's great," and sometimes they're like, the one that I really got for was like the Amish Candy Shop series, which is my longest running one. The first book I called The Last Chocolatier because my protagonist is a chocolatier. So I thought it would be like,
Cute.
blah, blah, chocolatier until the end of time, and, or till the publisher cancels the series, whatever. And then my editor came up with the first title, A Salted Caramel. And then I came up with every title since then because she set the rhythm. So like Lethal Licorice and the most recent one, Lemon Drop Dead. So like I knew I had to have a candy and a dying word.
Yep.
That sounded cute.
I actually have one. So Buried in a Good Book, On Spine of Death, and Murder Off the Books are the 3 titles for this series. I wanted to call it another one, Rise the Dust, which I still do. It's an
I like that one.
And every time they ask me for suggestions, I put that one in there. And I don't know if they've noticed. They're like, "Do you have any suggestions?" I'm like, "Well, yes, I do."
They want other suggestions, but not that one.
Yeah, that one. That's what I sent them.
Sheesh.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, I can throw out another question here if we've got some more time.
Yeah.
What does writing success, look like to you?
Oh, Lord.
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
I know. My first question was about snacks, so I had to go with something deeper.
And it's funny how the answer to
We
this
go
is
back to
probably
the snack one. Like,
No. What does writing success look like to you? Tell me. I'll start. For me, it looks like just being a working writer. You know how like they say actors, some actors are just like, I just want to be a working actor. I want to write a book and write the next book. And I love the creativity of being able to write in 2 genres. To me, that's success. So I'm not going to be like 50 Shades of Grey successful, but I'm pretty happy with just the opportunities that I have now. It's a good balance for me. Okay, so that's what success looks like for me.
I think I agree. I think having the continued contracts and always knowing what's coming next is a really good feeling. And I think in any gig economy type job, having that certainty is rare. So I think that's a good definition of success.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree too. My agent always tells me like my ultimate goal is to keep you always in print. So, when we're coming to an end of the contract, she's like, "What do you have? And don't just give me one idea. We're sending out 2." And she's been amazing. But I think my idea of success over my career has evolved, and I keep raising the bar to what I want to achieve next. Like initially when I wanted to be a writer as a young girl, I just wanted to have my book in the library, to the point I
Yeah.
would go into my school or public library and move people off the shelf and make place for Amanda Flowers' book, one single book, and now I'm, pushing 50 books. So, ultimately, I want to be, I do want to be, if I hit New York Times, like that is a realistic ultimate goal of me. I don't know with what I write if that's a realistic goal, but it's something that, I'm striving for because I like to push myself. So,
Same. Yeah, I can remember when I first signed with my first big agent, and she asked like what kind of ballpark I was looking at money wise, what was my like 1 year plan, or she was just trying to get a feel for me. And I remember saying, oh, I don't care about the money, I just want to see it in print. I'd been writing for no advance for so long for smaller presses that just the idea of seeing my book at bookstores and was end goal, and then it was, oh, if I could just get something in hardcover, and then, oh, if I could just, I'm seeing my friends show up in Women's Day magazine, if I was in there, and just, I wanted to win awards. I'm like Amanda. I think the bar just keeps moving, and I don't know. I don't know that there's some end goal for me. I like to torture myself and just keep pushing it up.
that's the one thing that Julie and I have in common. Like, we're like completely
Driven.
writers in every way, except we're like,
Yeah.
a little bit.
The
The,
driven, yeah.
the drive is there. The crazy
Yeah.
drive.
Like I have imagined, like secret financial goals. Okay, if I make this, if I can make a living, and this is what making a living means to me, then I've really truly made this a career, and that's kind of the ultimate goal.
Well, yeah, and is anybody going to turn down a Netflix movie deal?
No.
Right.
No.
But if
I feel like you could make that pig have
name
like,
and Shirley, I don't care.
If you want that pig to have some wings and fly around Amish, you go. Like, I'm not gonna I have no problem with that as long as the check clears.
Well, someday I have this dream of writing a like an anthology with other mystery writers. And I always thought, I didn't understand why publishers aren't more willing to do that, because we all have our audiences, right? So if you work on an anthology type thing, we bring all of our audiences to that work. So anyway, I haven't found anybody who thinks that's a great idea except me so far. So I'll still work on it.
I actually have, I'm part of an anthology that's coming out next month. I think it's July 18th. And I know, so, and it's called Hotel California, and all of the stories are based on Eagle songs.
Oh,
It's
fun.
inspired by the Eagles album, inspired. And I was just so surprised that I was selected to be in it, because there is a Jack Reacher story in it, and there's like Heather Graham's in it. So I feel like they dropped this like pig loving cozy author with like really dark, hard hitting thriller anthology. But I do think the idea was these people have different fans.
Mhm.
And, the Jack Reacher fans will buy it, and maybe they'll be like, you know what? I really want to read about a farm in Michigan. It was just so darn
I like that. It's different flavors.
You can't be doing espionage all the time.
That's
That's
right.
true. So my story will be like a little break among all the dark. Although it's a PI story, and it's it's not there's no pig running through it. I didn't have time. I only had 5,000 words or something like that. So
Yeah.
there wasn't enough time to get my little animal character.
Right. Can't
But
waste time on the
yeah,
animals.
I think and I know they're doing one next year, which I'm not a part of, and they're doing like based on Thriller, the
Michael Jackson.
album. So everyone who's in that one, who's a different group of authors, so they're choosing different people for each one. And I think it's pretty much publisher driven. So they're like picking these individuals. So I'm still kind of surprised that they picked me. And writing a short story is so hard after writing novels my whole career. Like, it was just like, you mean I have to kill someone and solve it? Like, this short
5,000
one.
words. Oh, wow.
So of course I copped out and went for the cold case situation. I can't get this person killed and solve it.
Well, you almost have to with 5,000 words. That's
Yeah.
gotta have some built-in help on that.
Unless the body just turns out to be a mannequin in the woods.
That's true.
And then your readers get mad about that. They're like,
Yeah.
"No, that's
You
like
should
it's all a
use that.
dream, right?"
It was all a dream.
Yeah, it's not that ending either. Mhm.
You could use that as a decoy, Dana, like in a future book. Like, they think it's the mannequin. Like, if it's see, this is like my brain starts to spiral. Like, but like, how did they? Like, there's some kind of like dress shop or something, and they have like all these mannequins, and there's a dead guy in there.
Ooh, a dress shop. I don't know that I've seen that theme.
That would be
You just
creepy.
invented a new one.
Now, Julie did an animal dress shop. Did you
Oh
want to talk
yeah, my
about
kitty
that?
Couture's. Yeah, it's like a
Oh,
pet boutique in New
how
Orleans.
fun.
She makes clothes for pets, furry
Oh.
godmother.
that's so cute.
I think it's so cute.
That's adorbs.
I started an indie series too that was based on like a
Oh,
dress shop. So all my little punny titles are like a Burden of Poof and 7 Deadly Sequins. They all kind of went with the the dress puns.
That's fun.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I guess
cannot.
a question I had is like, if you weren't, I know you've probably been asked this before, but if you weren't writing cozies, what would you be writing?
That's a
Or
good
what
one.
do you want to write in addition to cozies someday?
I'm hoping I have a women's fiction project that's coming up, so I'm really excited about that. I read a lot of romantic comedy, and I don't know. I have a real passion for just women. I don't know. It's not always PC to say it, I guess, although I have a real feeling about just what we go through as women and life in general, and what's on our shoulders. And I've really, really wanted to write about women for a long while, and I've been taking it out on my cozy heroines. Their adventures are getting I don't know, less silly, and I've seen my heroines grow and grow, and it's made me realize that I really wanted to write something that was really about the woman and her adventure, and so I'm working on that now, and I'm really excited for that.
That's awesome.
That's me.
Coming up with my pen name, I have 2 uplit books coming out. UPLIT, which is a word I didn't know before I started writing it. It's like upmarket, uplifting fiction. So it's kind of like women's fiction / romantic comedy, kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah.
That's been a really fun. Yeah, no, it's been a really fun genre to write in. But I actually have a really fun thriller idea that I want to write, but I might end up turning it into a screenplay instead, just to mix things up.
That's cool.
fun.
Screenplay. I tried to write one once. I was like, brain doesn't work like that.
I like it because it's just mostly the dialogue, so you get to skip all the actual hard writing.
Yeah.
And just have
Yeah.
the
I don't know. I think I just the producer that asked me to write it and I was working with, he kept sending me notes back, and he was like, you can't tell the actors what to do all the time. Like, I was like, who sighed? You're like, no, like, be able to interpret that. Dana, what would you want to work on?
Well, I write romantic suspense, so I write 3 books a year in that genre, and cozy, so I don't have any more time for any other genres. I would like to write psychological thriller, I suppose, but I don't know that I have it in me to learn all the ins and outs of that genre right now. So
It's hard to go dark, I think.
yeah, and it's when you're cozy, it's
I was thinking of you yesterday when we were kind of talking. I didn't realize that you wrote for Harlequin too. Like, we've both been with Harlequin for a while. I think I don't know. I had a book come out in April that might have been my 21st with Harlequin Intrigue, and you kind of do the same thing, but the inspired line, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of neat.
Yeah,
That's
we're
really
like, you know,
We've
shelf
probably been at the Harlequin parties dancing together and didn't
maybe
even know.
we have. You would have remembered me though.
I know, that's what I was just thinking. The intrigue, I always feel like the intrigue crowd is like a little bit crazy, but I bet each little clique feels that way when they're out there.
Probably.
In my case, I have always wanted to write historical mystery. I'm very much a mystery writer. So when I signed with my agent, you know, over a decade ago, I have the same agent. I feel so blessed that I am happy and with the same person this long. She was like, asked me to write romance, asked me to write, and I was like, you know, you want me to write about a pagan Amish country? You want me to write whatever, a magical mystery? Like, just let me kill people. Like, this is my jam.
That's all I ask.
This is what I do.
You gotta stay in your lane, right? Stay in
Yeah,
your
I
lane.
know my lane. I love to solve the murder, and I love the puzzle aspect, and I love that the bad guy gets his comeuppance in the end. So I've always wanted to write historical because I'm kind of a history nerd, and there's always been historical. For many of my series, there's historical subplots and things like that because it's kind of like Julie. It sneaks in, and so my first historical mystery comes out from Berkeley on September 20th, and it's called Because I Could Not Stop for Death, and Emily Dickinson is the protagonist. And I am so excited. Like, I've been working on this book for 6 or 7 years, and like I'm both terrified and excited because she's so beloved. But I can't wait because like this is really, I feel like a book of my heart kind of situation. So
I placed my pre-order. I'm stoked.
oh, thank
I
you.
cannot wait.
Like a dream you've had for a long time, and now you're gonna see it on the shelf.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So, and I'm so grateful too. They let me write under my real name. I mean, I've written under pen names before, but because I was switching genres and I really wanted it as an Amanda Flower book, like I don't, and it never even came up. They never said anything. So I was
Can I ask
surprised.
you a question about that? Do you include her poetry in there, or is that public domain, or you
It
do
is
you
public domain.
oh, it
Yeah,
is, okay.
yeah. She
Nice.
died in
Mhm.
the 1860s. Or I'm sorry, I think she died in the 18. I my brain. No, she died after the Civil War. But yeah, it's on the public domain. So there are lines of her poems. There's no poem in there in its entirety.
Mhm.
Because this is early on in her life, so she's like 24. So what my character's doing is she's like kind of like playing, you know how writers like you'll mumble to yourself and get a sentence, like she kind of does that throughout the book. And those really, you know, hardcore Emily fans will be like, oh my gosh, that's a line from, and I didn't pick like all the like big time poems everyone memorized in school. Like some of them are pretty obscure. So I think it's going to be like little gems for like those people that are really obsessed with her. So or at least I hope so.
I adore her. She has like, is it 1800 poems or something? It's
Yeah. So there's
I'm a
plenty.
big Emily fan.
Yeah, there's plenty. And I last year I trained for a half marathon. So when I would run, I listened to all her poems so that for some reason I thought it was important that I at least heard all of her poems or
Mhm.
read all of them in this process. I mean, it took hours and hours and hours, but luckily I was running and not very good at it. So I was super slow. So at the time,
Were they all recorded by the same narrator? Did one person read all of them?
yes. Yeah. It was an older Audible version that I found on Audible, and I just really picked it like probably a lot of us do. I picked it by the readers. So I listened to like their samples just to kind of see like, is that what I think Emily sounds like? Because sometimes I listened to them, I was like, no. And I'm sure that's happened to us when we've heard snippets of the audio versions of our books.
Mhm.
And we've
It's
been like,
probably even harder with poetry. You would need a really
yeah,
savvy
maybe
reader
it's
to
a
read
real
poetry
issue.
well.
Um, but I know with myself, some of my narrators, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so and so, and others, I'm like, okay. That's fine, as long, as long as our readers are happy.
Do we need to keep going? Should we have more questions?
Sure.
What's the best writing advice you ever got?
Mine was, if you want to be a professional writer, you need to act like one. Like if you're running a shoe store, you don't just show up when you feel like it. You're running a business, treat it like professional, show up every day, do the job, get the learning, get better. It's not a matter of, I feel the muse today or I don't. So that was the best piece of writing I got.
That's great.
So I got, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would say the best piece of writing advice I ever heard was like 3 days ago. So I watched.
Wow.
I know. The show Hacks. Do any of you guys watch that? It's on HBO Max. It's about like an aging female comedian, and she hires a younger female comedian to help her kind of brush up her image and become relevant to the modern age. It's really good. I highly recommend it. But in the show, the older comedian is having doubts about herself, and she says you have to trust the process. So she's been doing it for so long that even though she lost heart and she kind of loses track, you have to trust that this is a thing that's been happening for so long in this same way that you can't lose track of what it means. And so when I in the middle of a book, which is the worst part of the book, I was like, that's right, trust the process, because it's never not worked. I've never gotten 3/4 of the way through a book and been like, I'm done. This is never going to work. It always works. So I liked that.
Good advice.
Absolutely. In my case, it was probably my first book had just come out, and that was in 2010. And Heather Weber, I don't know if you are familiar with her. She is an Ohio author. She also writes as Heather Blake, cozies, and we were at a book fair or something, and I just was like kind of starry-eyed because it was one of my first book events, and she told me always be writing something new, and I've really taken that to heart, because from being in the industry for a while, her experience, which has also become my experience, you do not ever know what is going to hit with the reader, the publisher. And if you just have like one idea, that could be cut off from you at any juncture. So have another idea in the works at all
And with
times.
my shoe store analogy, it's like you don't just have one pair of shoes in the store.
Exactly.
You don't have a lot of shoes ready to go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. When I was pre-published or just beginning to publish, I was on Twitter a lot. So I'm like trying to learn everything, and I'm seeing all the opinions. And I remember seeing how you should stay in your lane, quit trying to write everything, because you'll never master your genre if you keep jumping all around. And I took that to heart for a while. But when I got my first agent, I'd already written 3 different genres. And I remember she said, it's like a portfolio. There's nothing wrong with being able to write more than one thing well. So you write your stories, turn off of Twitter.
Turn off Twitter. That might be
No.
And I'm sure like 100 years from now, when they're studying your body of work, like even though it's all different genres, like there will be threads, like there will be common threads. And,
that's true.
They're all still you,
yeah,
even if they're not.
So that's actually a question that I had for you gals is I can like barely keep my name and marketing stuff straight, and I use my own name. Like for all my genre work, I use my own name. So how do you keep all these pen names straight? A lot of you have a couple of different ones, do you?
I have like 3 plus my real name. What about Amanda has one?
Like, and how do you make sure you're giving enough marketing time to all those different? Is it just what's currently, what's most current? Or...
No, I Do you want to go first, Tamara? This gets me all worked up.
My answer is I just don't really market. I am really, really bad at that, and just let everybody else handle it for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
So one of the questions I get that kind of goes along with this is, why do you have all these names? Well, in each instance, it's a different publisher, and they wanted to brand the name with the series. You know, they want to make the two synonymous. I was kind of, for me, I was new, and then all at once I wasn't. So if that makes any sense. So it seemed like I was getting picked up by everyone all in the same year or two. And, you know, you have a contract for 3 books, and that publisher can't give you another contract until you fulfill the first 3. But more than just turning them in, they have to have time to release and come out and see how the sales are. Well, I write really, really quickly. And so since that publisher wasn't in a position yet to offer me to extend the contract or anything new, I got another publisher, and I got another publisher, and each publisher wanted a named brand with the series. They wanted to control that narrative for that name. And so as a new author, I wanted the work. I was excited. And so I ended up with all these names. Then once I had my foot out there and, you know, readers were starting to know them, I have spent like the last couple of years trying to make inroads to myself. And every once in a while, I'll do the PSA post with my face and like names, you know, just so you know. And still after 3 or 4 years, I will still get responses on those posts to people that have since the last post found one of those names. Oh, I had no idea. And they'll tag friends. Did you know this? I started putting my newsletter. I have like all my names at the top of my newsletter. I got permission from all my publishers to take all the recipes from each series and put them in one document where I can have not to sell, but to give away, to build my newsletter list, but to bring awareness. And so at the beginning of each set of recipes, it says the series is, you know, by this name, that's me. Here's what it's about. Here's all those recipes. And whether they bought the books or not, now the recipes are all in one place. And I don't know, it's a lot of work to unite all of those,
right? Yeah.
All of the names. And in the Women's Fiction Project, I'll get a new name, but at least that's a different genre. You know, that's a little different than writing cozies, and all those readers would want to read the other.
Right.
Yeah,
you would bring your reader family no matter what you wrote. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard. I wrote a series for Berkeley years ago under the pen name Isabella Allen, and it was early in my career, and I did it as a work for hire. So as that, I had to have a pen name, but my agent was pretty savvy. So in my contract, it was very explicit that Isabella Allen could tell people she was Amanda Flower and vice versa. And ever since then, we've been able to say that we want to use Amanda Flower. It's getting to the point they don't even ask anymore, which is nice. To not have to fight for your name, you know, your real name. In my case, the funny thing is, like, people think Amanda Flower is my pen name, and that's the actual one on my birth certificate.
It's so cute. It's a great name.
And they're like, "Oh, your name's Isabella Allen." I was like, "No, that actually pronounce that name." Like, potentially, I don't think they will, but they could pick another author and be like, "You are Isabella."
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up doing it. And I agreed to it because I was with small presses early in my career, and this was my inroad to go to one of the big 5. So it was a good decision for me. And I'm really glad I did it. And it was, even though I was Isabella, I just wrote, even when I signed books, I wrote Isabella Allen / Amanda Flower. Like, I was very like pushing Amanda Flower hard as Isabella, because I was like,
I have actually accidentally signed the wrong name in a book before. It'd be worth so much money someday, but just
I was thinking of signing all of mine like Nora Roberts or Louise Penny, so they would be like really worth more.
All right, so we've got some good crowd questions out here for all of you. So first up, Sherry wants to know, if you could be one of your characters for a day, who would you choose? Let's start with Julie.
Oh, I would easily, I think, be Everly from the Seaside Cafe. She lives in my favorite place. Like, she's in the Outer Banks. She's selling tea. She's wearing flip-flops and cutoffs with an ocean view. And she's got the hunkiest, best, can I say husband? At the spoilers, the series over. Yeah, like, she's got the best family and friends. I would for sure be Everly.
How about you, Tamara?
I would probably be Eleanor Wilde from my Seances Are for Suckers series. She's a con woman who pretends to be a medium, but then also starts to see real ghosts. But she gets to live in like this cute English cottage and manipulate people out of their hard-earned money, which is a trait I admire.
How about you, Amanda?
I probably am most like Shiloh in the Farm to Table Mysteries, because she's a farmer trying to save a farm, and I have that same personal experience. But being a farmer is really hard, so I wouldn't pick her. I would really like to be the main character in my Magical Bookshop series. So she is able to solve mysteries using 19th century American literature like Emily Dickinson and Henry David Thoreau. And I am such a 19th century literature geek that I would definitely want to solve a mystery that way.
Nice. And how about you, Dana?
Well, Trinidad Jones, of course, because she runs an ice cream shop. And when you sell ice cream, you just deliver happiness to everybody all day long. Nobody is grumpy when they're ordering ice cream. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Trisha wants to know, you guys have been talking about writing under different pseudonyms. A lot of you also write romance as well. And with cozies, there's such a fast pace with them, the way that they're published. It used to be every year, once a year. Now it's, every 6 months, 9 months, something like that. So do you find it difficult to keep the pace with having multiple books a year in terms of writing? Let's go backwards and start with Dana.
Keeping the pace. Well, as I've always said, a deadline is a very motivating thing. A legally binding contract means you get it done on time. So you just have to time manage. And it's difficult, but lots of jobs are high paced and quick paced and all that. So you just manage your time and get that deadline met. Yeah.
How about you, Amanda?
Well, I am an epic procrastinator because I have a book due today. I have 1,000 words left to write. So I'm not a great example. But I do, in a perfect world, have a plan. And I do, at the beginning of writing a book, break it down, like how many words do I need to write in order to reach that deadline. Now, in this particular book, a lot of life events have gotten in the way, which has sent everything into an absolute tailspin. But I will finish tonight because, like Dana said, the deadline is what it is.
But you, Tamara?
I try to set my schedule so that I do a mystery and then a romance, or a mystery and then an uplit, so that I'm never writing the same genre 2 times in a row. And I find that helps keep things fresh and keeps me motivated. And so I'm not bogged down by the duty of it.
Yeah. And Julie?
Yeah. The same kind of. I think that it sounds like I work like you guys. I try to mix it up when I can to keep things fresh, so I don't plus my mind gets a little bored, or my wheels spin a little if it's 3 or 4 cozies in a row. So it's really nice to have the different genres to write. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to get them finished. Every time I finish a book, it feels like, running a victory circle. So I crave that. The more I can get done, the more celebrating I can do.
Yeah. And Dana, there was lots of support for your anthology idea in the comments. Lots of people love those. And,
Thank you.
And Kensington does all of those really great holiday themed ones where it's like 4 novellas. So clearly we just need to get source books on board, and because they're leaving money on the table, not doing these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look at how entertaining the staff, we could just be fantastic, party guests too. So
So now that Source Books is now that Poison Pen is part of Source Books, they really need to up their anthology game. I will mention that when I report back after the event.
Appreciate it.
So Victoria wants to know, this is a fun question. Is there a particular cozy mystery trope that you love more than others? How about you, Julie?
I like the romance. I know I've been seeing people get tired of this and, complain about it in Facebook groups that for cozies, but I really like the trope of the heroine and the detective, the person who's like trying to prove her guilty or her best friend or her grandma guilty. I love the idea of the way that their banter goes and their butting heads. I could read them forever, where the heroine falls in love with the person trying to arrest her.
Yeah. Jen McKinley said that, inevitably when she gets letters with people complaining about too much romance in the book or something, their first question is always, though, when are the characters going to get together? They might complain about it, but they're completely invested in it. How about you, Tamara?
I really like the crabby, sassy old lady that always lives in the town. I think she's in every book. She's certainly in every one of mine. She's seen something of the world. She's going to let you know it. I always like her.
Yeah. Amanda?
I love the animal sidekick. And I think if you've read my books, like everyone, there's always like an animal that is featured in the book. In the Farm to Table series, she has a pug, and my brother has 2 pugs. So that pug is pretty true to life of how pugs behave.
And Dana?
Oh, small town setting. I just love it. It just brings you back in time to a different kind of a town. I just don't think I could ever write in, a big city story. It just cozy has to be that little town, with all of these things we've been talking about. And those things we've been talking about work when it's a quirky small town, but they don't work in a big city setting. So
yeah. Speaking of Amanda's animal sidekicks, when her publicist Larissa with Kensington sent out advanced readers of the Amish Matchmaker series, they sent out these little plastic gnomes. They're the cutest. They live on my desk. I have to put them in a jar.
Thank
they
you.
live
I'm so glad they have a home there. That makes me so happy. Yeah, she sent me a picture that she sent those. I was like, that's the cutest thing ever.
I have to keep them in a jar because my cat will pick them up, and I'll find them under the coffee table. They crack me up. So aside from your own books, what is another cozy series? And we'll also put the caveat, not anybody else on the panel as well. What is another cozy series that you read and enjoy? Julie?
I don't read a lot of, I don't. What? I think the only cozy mysteries I've read in the last 3 years have been if a publisher asked me to read a book for a review quote. Otherwise, I don't really read cozies, but I can tell you that Up to No Gouda by Linda Riley is fantastic. And Cheddar Off Dead by Karina Moss. I had a blast reading that earlier this year. Those are both really good.
Those were both January and I think March picks for the cozy subscription box, which I was like, I think for the second one, I was like, okay, I know I've already picked one cheese shop this year, but they're completely different cheese shops.
They're so different and they're both so clever.
Yeah, very clever.
How about you, Tamara?
I will always go back to the Amelia Peabody series. That's what first introduced me to cozies. It's my comfort read when I need more cozies. So yeah.
I love that series.
I'm a purist that way.
Amanda?
2 cozy series that I've really enjoyed recently is The Noodle Shop by Vivian Chen. And I've probably read the first 3 of those. And I want to get to the other ones. And then I read the first book in Abby Collette's Ice Cream Shop. And that was really fun for me to read because it's set in Cleveland. So I live near Cleveland. So it was a really spot on with the description of the area and stuff. So that was fun.
Yeah. And how about you, Dana?
Well, too, I just read the Unexpected Inheritance of Detective Chopra, I might have got the title wrong. That was a fantastic book. He gets a baby elephant in the
Oh, uh-huh.
story. When does that happen? And the other one, I don't know if you'll think this is a cozy, John. Maybe you can tell us what you think, but The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman.
Mhm.
That was an amazing book. And the reason why I thought it was amazing was because of the way he portrays the elderly. I mean, it's set at a retirement home, right? But there's no stereotyping. There's no, how we typically portray elderly people sometimes. It was amazing.
Yeah,
So I
those
think
are
that was the first in the series. I don't know.
yeah, that's the first one. I
Mhm.
forget what the second one's called, but then there's a third one coming out. They've been big favorites at the
Yeah,
store too.
great.
And yeah, they sort of walk that line, there's that thin line between kind of cozy and traditional mystery, and he kind of straddles that line there. Which is great. Okay, so we are almost out of time, but before we go, let's go around and let's have everybody tell everybody who's out there watching what you've got coming up next. How about you, Julie?
I think that I don't know. I'm done for the year right now. I'm just
Wow.
writing. I had 5 releases in 6 weeks between March 29th and like May 10th. It just so happened the publishers' calendars were just, and so that's it. They're all out. I announced it in my reader group. It's my last new release, and they were like, it's only, but that's just the way it is. So now I'm writing really quickly so that I can get some books out next year.
Awesome. How about you, Tamara?
So Buried in a Good Book just came out 2 weeks ago. There's 2 sequels. This next one will be out in November, and then the third one in next May. So it's a pretty quick succession for those 3.
Very cool. And how about you, Amanda?
My next book comes out at the end of August 23rd, and it's called Peanut Butter Panic. It is the 7th in the Amish Candy Shop Mystery Series. And then on September 20th, my debut in historical mystery, the Emily Dickinson book, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, comes out. And then the third book in the series that I write for Source Books will come out in February, and it's called In Harm's Way.
And how about you, Dana?
Just finishing up the third one. I don't have a title for it yet. It's going to come out. We delayed that a little bit, so it'll be a Christmas book, but it won't be this Christmas. So I've been, experimenting with hot cocoa bombs.
Ooh.
Yeah, doesn't that sound like fun? Only we're going to figure out an easier way to make it because those poor readers, they don't want to go and buy all the special equipment. So that's been fun. Christmas in June around here.
So since you mentioned recipes before we go, let's talk about those for a second. So if you guys have recipes in the back of your books, or those things that you come up with, do you have like a group of people that help you do it? How do you come up with the recipes in the book? Let's start with Dana.
Well, I typically go with stuff I know that's a family recipe that we use over and over and over. But if it's something we're playing with, like hot cocoa bombs, I recruit help because you need to make it more than once, and you need to have other people tell you, ew, if it's not going to be good, right? So you recruit help for that if it's a new recipe.
Amanda?
My recipes are for my candy shop, and candy is notoriously difficult to make. So I get an idea, and then I recruit help, and then I ask the help to help me dumb it down so I can make it. So then also my reader that is not a gourmet chocolatier can also make it. When I started, my friend that helps me, she's like, "You don't even have a candy thermometer." Like, I was like, "What?" Like, so I do have a candy thermometer now. I did have to make that investment because of my series.
How about you, Tamara?
There has never been a recipe in one of my books. There will never be a recipe in one of my books because I do not cook. Sorry, guys. There's pets,
Fair.
though. I like those.
They're good.
And how about you, Julie?
So I usually try to find recipes online that go with, and I try to theme them to the book. So whether it's the season or something going on the island or at the orchard or Christmas tree shop or whatever the series is, I look for recipes online that would go with that book or something relevant. And then I will look at and make, because there's always a million recipes. Whatever recipe you're looking for, there's infinite, and they're all called the same thing, but they're different. And I'll try.
World's best,
Right?
whatever, right? Yeah.
So
or grandma's best meatballs.
Exactly. And I'll pick a bunch out, but I always look for things that don't have a ton of ingredients or a lot of steps, because I know my major demographic is women that are roughly my age. We don't have any time. Like, we don't have time, and we probably don't have 75 ingredients that we only want to use. So I try to pick ones that way, and then of those, I will make them and see which one I didn't blunder the worst, which one was most convenient, most likely that a reader could do it and enjoy it.
Perfect. All right. So to recap, for anyone who might have joined in late, we have been chatting with Tamara Berry, whose new book, Buried in a Good Book, is out now. We've been chatting with Dana Mentic, whose newest release is A Sprinkle in Time. Bree Baker, whose most recent release is Pleading the Fish. And Amanda Flower, whose most recent is Put Out to Pasture. If you missed any part of our chat, once we are done, Facebook and YouTube will archive it so you can go back and rewatch. While you're there, I've got on YouTube, I've got a playlist of all of the cozy virtual events that we've done. We've been lucky to chat with Julie and Amanda a couple of times. So if you want to see any of those previous events, they're all there as well. I've dropped links to the books that we've been mentioning, as well as the event link to the Murder by the Book page. So if you need to pick up the author's newest book, first in the series, all of that info is there. Thank you guys all so much for doing this with us this evening. It's been really fun to get to chat with you guys and catch up.
Thanks
You
so
too.
much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Y'all take care.
All right.
You too.